Hi, everyone, and welcome to our new podcast in Earthly Tales. And our today's guest is Akashdeep Grover. He is a CA, CFA, and a SEBI registered research analyst, known for delivering clear, structured, and actionable stock market insights. Trusted by his investors, his practical and no nonsense approach, he provides a detailed stock market research with disciplined technical frameworks to identify the high profit opportunities. He has also written a book called Stock Jalfrezi, a recipe of success for the Indian stock market. Thank you, Akashdeep, for coming on the show with us. And we'll be sharing some great insights from you today to the audience and around the stock markets, around what is happening. I think this is a perfect time with so much chaos running around. So the session and the podcast will mean a lot getting it from you today.
Thank you so much, Sujata, for having me. I think it's good to be here. And obviously, I would like to start with a caveat, like I'm a SEBI registered research analyst. So, during our discussion, any stock we take names, don't consider it as like advice to buy or sell, but we'll try to, make the session we have it here very insightful for the audience.
Yeah, that's great. To start with a caution. Yeah.
That is how stock market works.
Yeah, true. So, everyone around thinks that they can make money with the stock market, especially when the markets are going up. But somehow, many people even lose money when the markets are going up. Today, beyond strategies and everything, we can keep that aside. And let's start with this. Even in the rising markets, why do people end up losing money?
See, I think rising market doesn't cover for the bad behavior, right? It
Yeah.
actually amplifies it. अगर
Yeah.
कोई person है like they are entering market without any strategy, most of people do
Hmm.
that. They enter market, somebody said so, किसी ने बोला ये खरीद लो, किसी ने बोला वो खरीद लो. They enter the market, they don't have a strategy, right? So they don't know whether they're coming as an investor or a trader. And,
Right.
and again, that is a bad behavior. So that actually amplifies when the market is rising. So
Yeah.
rising market is not a correction to any of these. Bad behavior is a
True.
bad behavior in any instance. So I think that's why people lose more money, in fact, in the rising markets. So again, just to summarize, lack of strategy, like not knowing what to do in market, is the real cause of losing money even in the rising market. And now, when the market has started actually falling, or at least the correction has started, you can see people losing big money, especially the ones who have invested in mid cap या small cap में जिन्होंने invest किया है.
Yeah.
That is all
Yeah.
because they lack a strategy. ये क्यों market
Yeah.
में है?
Yeah. So, what is the behavior that you have seen a pattern amongst the retail investors? What they fall into? क्या क्या ऐसे वो लोग फोमो में आ जाते हैं कि के वजह से वो लोग इन्वेस्ट करते हैं या हाउ इज इट?
See, first of all, like the biggest thing is they don't define role. So
Hmm.
you either come to market या तो आप as an investor आते हो या आप as a trader आते हो.
Right.
Investor means you are here for at least a substantial amount of time. It could be a few months to of like few years. For example, like I'm a long-term investor. I have like stocks since 10 years into my portfolio. I
Right.
haven't sold them, right? Then there are different rules when you're coming as an investor. But जब आप trader हो, right? I do trading my for myself as well. So there are different rules for that. That is purely execution based. You are here for a few hours or maybe a day or maybe a week, right? तो
Hmm.
आपका time span बहुत कम है. Both are fine. There's nothing wrong in any of these. I do both. I have a separate funds for both of it. The issue starts जब लोग दोनों को mix करते हैं. They begin as a trader, but जब दिन के end में वहां पे loss हो रहा है तो they don't book losses. They say कि नहीं नहीं we are long term investors. When you
Right.
don't define your role कि आप market में क्यों हो, that is the
Right.
biggest issue with that. If you are coming as a trader और day end पे आपको loss हो रहा है, you have to book it. There will be loss
हाँ.
days as well. मार्केट ऐसे
Yes.
ही काम करता है. यू कांट एग्जिट एवरी स्टॉक एवरी स्ट्रेटजी एट टॉप. नहीं होता ऐसा, राइट?
Yeah.
प्रैक्टिकली यू हैव टू बेयर लॉसेस, यू हैव टू गेन प्रॉफिट. द नेट रिजल्ट्स शुड बी इन प्रॉफिट. दैट इज द अल्टीमेट
Yeah.
गोल.
True.
बट लोग जब मिक्स करते हैं अपनी स्ट्रेटजी को, and again, that is the biggest reason. You were talking about FOMO. Again, that links to the same point. When you don't have a strategy, FOMO becomes your driver, right?
Yeah. True.
आपको किसी ने बोला ये स्टॉक है, किसी ने बोला ओके डेटा सेंटर्स आर गोइंग टू बूम, पीपल स्टार्ट इन्वेस्टिंग इन डेटा सेंटर्स. Somebody says IT is going to, it's a bottom fishing time, they start buying that. And again, trust me, I have read a lot of books, I have followed a lot of investors. Nobody has made money, beyond a portfolio of 15, 20, 25 stocks at max. अगर आप अपने पोर्टफोलियो में यू एड से 100 200 स्टॉक्स, यू आर अल्टीमेटली गोइंग टू हैव अ वेरी पैसिव काइंड ऑफ रिटर्न फ्रॉम द मार्केट, जितना
Yes.
इंडेक्स देता है. So to have a substantial return, you have to have conviction on 15, 20, maximum 25 stocks into like your portfolio. इसके अलावा like you can't earn from every stock. You have to choose your battles कि मेरे को ये stock में invest करना है, इसको track करना है. So again, FOMO is the biggest like issue with the people these days, but people still fall to it. I personally follow JOMO. You know, there's a separate that's called joy of missing out, right? And I read it somewhere, and I actually really liked it. तो उसमें there's a separate chapter in my book that is called the JOMO investor. No matter how skilled you are or how effort you put, you're not going to earn from every stock. That is for
Right,
sure,
right.
right?
Yeah.
People have tried doing that, they have failed, and I think that's a reality. So thing is, it says like agar aap kisi stocks, people say okay, if I would have invested in Infosys at that time, I would have made that much of money. You see those kind of reels everywhere, right? But also think of if you would have invested say in Yes Bank when it was 480, तो आज आपका क्या होता, right? There are opposite examples as well, but obviously
Yes.
we glorify a few survivors, right?
Hmm.
तो
Hmm.
market में कभी नहीं होने का, so don't follow FOMO, follow a proper strategy. That is the real thing in market.
तो माइंडसेट काफी एक इम्पोर्टेंट रोल प्ले करता है जब कमिंग टू द इन्वेस्टिंग साइड एंड ऑल. सो हाउ मच साइकोलॉजी प्लेज एन इम्पोर्टेंट रोल वर्सेस स्किल?
That's very interesting question actually. So, and I personally think psychology do play a like significant role. Definitely more than people are ready to admit, right? People only think, okay, it's only about skill. No, it's not only about skill. And I would like to differentiate it. For example, if you're here in the market for like passive income only, like what Nifty is generating, what index is generating, you're fine with that. Then I think skill matters very less. You only need to have like a rational approach. You need to have patience. You put money into say some ETF, आपने कोई index खरीद लिया, आपने कोई mutual fund खरीद लिया, they'll take care of that. And at that time, skill is very less required. You have to be more about mind game. You have to be patient with that. But when you are trying to generate alpha in the market, when you are trying to outperform the market, that is where skill come into the picture. But again, this doesn't kind of वो पूरा उसको eclipse नहीं करता like psychology factor that always stay. But again, जब आप आउट परफॉर्म करने का ट्राई कर रहे हो, देन स्किल का इंपॉर्टेंस बढ़ जाता है. स्टिल इट्स नॉट 100%, बट इट्स मोर
या.
देन 50% इन दैट केस.
सो अगर आप जस्ट पुट इन अ केस लाइक एक कोई एग्जांपल ऐसा दे सकते हो कि जो इन्वेस्टर को इतना कॉस्ट कर गया है बिकॉज ऑफ देयर सम बिहेवियर दैट दे हैव बीन कैरिंग इट आउट, सो दैट हैज कॉस्ट देम अ फॉर्च्यून.
Definitely, there are a lot of that. In fact, I have like practical examples. Like a lot of my friends, they hold Yes Bank, and they have been
Oh,
holding Yes Bank like when it was 480, then it fell to 180. They averaged it, and they have been averaging it like since then, like since I think a decade now.
yeah.
So the biggest issue is holding on to losers, right?
Hmm.
सो आप एक ऐसे स्टॉक में इन्वेस्ट करते हो विच इज अ फॉलिंग नाइफ, जो आपको आपको लगता है कि यू हैव बीन एक्यूमुलेटिंग इट, बट
Hmm.
it has been actually deterioration of your money.
Yes.
So that has costed like a lot of people fortune. People get emotionally attached to that stock कि मेरे को यही stock अमीर बनाएगा. And
हाँ.
I used to follow one person who says that like आपको स्टॉक मार्केट में अमीर बनना है या इसी स्टॉक से अमीर बनना है,
True.
right? So there is a differentiation. People
Yeah.
stick to very particular stock and they say अरे नहीं नहीं अभी नहीं बेचेंगे, ये particular stock ही चलेगा. So I have invested in a lot of stocks जो नहीं चले at later stage, but I was rational enough. I followed my strategy. जब वो नहीं चले, there was points I just booked like losses out of it, and I moved to a better opportunity, and that worked for me, right? If you keep sticking yourself to those particular stocks because of your emotional bias, you'll end up losing money. And in fact, I
True.
have a particular term for it. I call it Dev Sena syndrome, right? We have seen Bahubali movie, we have seen Dev Sena. She keep on waiting for Bahubali to come and save like her. और वो मूवी थी, उसमें बाहुबली आता है, बट इन रियल लाइफ कोई बाहुबली नहीं आने वाला. सो गेट आउट ऑफ दिस देवसेना सिंड्रोम एंड हैव अ स्ट्रेटजी इन प्लेस कि क्यों रख रहे हैं, क्यों नहीं रख रहे.
एंड आई थिंक एक चीज है कि फंडामेंटली स्ट्रॉन्ग कंपनीज में इन्वेस्ट करना रादर इज मोर लॉजिकल. then seeing something that the management is already falling, the management is not in place. So fundamentally, they are not strong itself. So I think long run may you have to see just if in case if someone is new, basics is the key.
Yes,
So
definitely, definitely. It's like it still matters more than anything else. If you are
yeah,
just believing in hype के management or CEO ने podcast में आके कुछ बोल दिया, so it's not going to survive for long. We have seen examples. I don't want to take name, but there are a lot of stocks, especially the IPOs, recent startup IPOs. We have seen.
yeah.
I also analyzed that data. Like I published an article on LinkedIn where I analyzed 30 such startup IPOs which got listed and what was their listing in, right? And what was their 1 year return after that.
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
was shocked, like their average listing in was 30%, and their average 1 year return was negatives into like minus 3 or 4%. We have seen what
We
happened
have,
to them.
yeah, I have a few names in mind too.
I think
So,
everybody have that
yeah,
nothing to blame on you. But the point is like story can drive a stock, but if
yeah,
there are no fundamentals to that, if the company is still into losses, there's a strategy change every now and there. For example, we all know Ola Electric, right?
yeah,
Every day there's a new strategy coming in. So that doesn't work in market, and market punishes such stock very hard, and we have seen the performances. So yeah, basics like basic fundamentals you can't get beyond that. Even though I've been like more than a decade into stock market, still when I hear about any new stock, I do research. I basically start with कैसे revenue बनाता है, कैसे करेगा, क्या market रहने वाला है. These are the fundamentals you can't let go.
yeah, true. So we were talking about the basics. We were talking about some people who don't have experience who are going to enter the stock market. So starting off for a new person who is coming into the stock market, do you think what they should build an emergency fund before entering the stock market first? And second time is the first time investor. Should they actually invest in the first year or not do any investments in the first year?
All right, all right. So start with the emergency fund question. That is a like a no-brainer. That is absolutely you have to have an emergency fund because हम मार्केट में इन्वेस्ट कर क्यों रहे हैं वी आर इन्वेस्टिंग इन मार्केट टू जनरेट वेल्थ दैट इज द सोल पर्पस ऑफ द होल इन्वेस्टमेंट सिनेरियो
Yeah.
and if you don't have emergency fund or there are some instances then your whole wealth is gone, there's no point of investing, right? So having an emergency fund is very, very critical. You can't start investing before having that, before building that. And again, the definition of emergency fund can vary. For me, I'm not in favor of keeping large stacks of cash bank account में exact पैसा रखना. I personally think I have a credit card जिसकी limit है 10 lakh. That works for me like for 3-4 months easily चल जाएगा. That is an emergency fund for me. Although I still keep some cash because there are some places जहाँ पे शायद credit card ना चले in case, but like for me that works. So you need not have that exact cash into your bank balance या आपके पास hard cash होना चाहिए, but you have like अगर आपको जरूरत पड़े you should be able to manage that money. It
Yeah,
could be into
true,
money market funds, it could be into FD, saving account, anything, right? That works.
true.
And again, apart from emergency fund, you need to have a good insurance as well. I have personally felt that people still in India, consider insurance as a luxury. Like they always
True.
think, अरे क्यों ही करना, जब जरूरत पड़ेगी तब
क्या
की तब
होगा?
देखेंगे.
हाँ,
Exactly, exactly. And I have seen those, like I know people, I know friends, one like medical emergency in family, the whole of like portfolio is gone into that, right? So have a good emergency fund plus a good insurance policy, then start thinking about like where to invest, right?
yeah.
And sorry, please come up with your second question. I just forget.
Second question was, do the investors like just have a entire session 1 year just वो देखें कि क्या चल रहा है मार्केट सिर्फ ऑब्जर्व करें एंड सेकेंड ईयर फिर इन्वेस्ट करें या फिर वही साल से इन्वेस्ट कर सकते हैं?
Uh, Definitely, I think invest कर सकते हैं. It's not like they can't invest, but again, I believe like first year is not about maximizing returns. It's about minimizing stupidity, right? Like
Yeah.
आप कितना कम mistakes we all start somewhere, right? And
Yeah.
I think अगर आप मार्केट के बाहर बैठ के देखोगे पेपर ट्रेडिंग के सब शेयर होते हैं, right? You pick 100 people, they'll do paper trading. 90% of them will be earning money. When it
It's
comes to
true.
real market, like the real scenarios, तो सिनेरियो चेंज होता है. सो आई वुड सजेस्ट डू ज्वाइन मार्केट, डोंट लाइक जस्ट वेट एंड वॉच. बट अगेन Just don't begin with future and options trading. Don't try to double your money in 1 year. Don't take debt to invest in market, right? So
Yeah. I
exactly.
had a friend who started broking, and he used to ask us for money, like, give me the money, I'm investing today. I'm like, what kind of trader are you? And he is doing fund managing for other people. I'm like, तू एक
Pe-
बार अच्छे से पढ़ाई कर ले फिर तू दूसरे के पैसे
People
से खेल.
people do that a lot. In fact, अभी एक influencer थे, like he suggested doing trading with credit card, investing with credit card, and
Wow.
without understanding the risk management, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying like taking debt to invest is a wrong thing. I absolutely don't deny it, because I think there is good debt, there is bad debt, there's a
Yeah.
proper risk management. If you are pro at that, if you can use that, for example, you take a debt, if you have a debt at 10% and you are able to earn 15-20%, then it's a good gain for you. That's what we call trading on equity, right, in technical terms. But it's not for everyone. It's not for retail investors, especially if you don't understand the market. So because अगर आप उसमें पैसा गवाते हो तो you'll end up losing big, right?
Exactly. Yes.
So you have to think from the angle of risk management. But again, like the question we started, don't do that in first year. Try
Yeah.
to be as rational as possible. Make rational mistakes. I'm not saying कि आप mistake नहीं करोगे. Like when I started, I think when you started, hopefully you would also have made like
Yeah.
a lot of mistakes. I made a lot of mistakes, but the learning you get from that is like very crucial. So don't play big in first year. Don't try to create कि एक ही साल में सब कुछ मैं market का like खत्म कर दूंगा. Just don't do that. Be rational in your first year.
And what mistakes do you commonly see amongst the beginners जो ट्रेड या इन्वेस्ट करना चाह रहे हैं?
So when it comes to like एक there's a one mistake जो उनको सबसे ज्यादा hurt करता है, like when it comes to financially, like that is like they don't have a strategy, where we begin with. That is, I stay to very basics. People enter market because everyone else is doing it. We have to do it right. तो वो किसी भी चीज में पैसा इन्वेस्ट करते हैं, they don't understand, right? For example, if I have to invest in any stock today, any mutual fund, any ETF, I'll thoroughly study,
Yeah.
right? चाहे उसका past return कितना भी रहा हो, कितना भी strong management हो, I still believe in studying financial. I still believe in studying their business model. I still believe in studying how it is expected to generate money in future. Most of people do. They go to some website. They put last year में किसने सबसे ज्यादा return कमाया है. Just put their money into that mutual fund.
Top 5 multi-bagger stocks.
Exactly. Everybody's reading the same article. They go to chat gpt, they put that, they chat gpt also quote the same article. So it's a circular economy,
Yeah.
everybody's going there. No, it
Yeah.
doesn't work. In fact, like अगर किसी पर्टिकुलर म्यूचुअल फंड ने लास्ट ईयर में अच्छा रिटर्न दिया है, आई थिंक देयर आर लेस चांसेस शायद वो इस साल अच्छा रिटर्न देगा, राइट? बिकॉज दैट माइट बी अ सेक्टर फंड जो पिछले साल अच्छा गया, राइट? बट पीपल सिंपली पुट दैट वन फिल्टर एंड दैट इज हाउ दे चूज थिंग्स. एंड ऑब्वियसली आई थिंक जब अब मार्केट करेक्ट होना शुरू हुआ है तो पीपल आर फीलिंग द हीट एज वेल.
True. And one of the common things that I've seen is people see FIIs खरीद रहे हैं तो हम भी खरीद लेते हैं. तो they are not understanding FIIs खरीद रहे हैं with a strategy कि वो बचा हुआ स्टॉक तुम खरीदो.
एग्जैक्टली
तो
एग्जैक्टली. आई एम ऑल्सो लाइक अ बिलीवर, ठीक है, जहां पे बिग मनी मूव हो रहा है, यू कैन ट्रैक दैट, बट दैट शुड नॉट बी
yeah,
द सोल फैक्टर ऑफ इन्वेस्टिंग, राइट?
true.
You need to study, because see, FII DIA के पास there are other ways of earning money into a stock as well. There
Yes.
are some dividend related thing that they do, there are some other things that they do, and आपको वो भी नहीं पता होता. They make position in any stock, and then they make position in FNO उसी stock को लेके. So they know how
Yes.
to earn money, but we might not know that thing, or we might not have access to such instruments, right? So solely basing your decision के सीधा जहाँ पे FII buy कर रहे हैं is, I don't think it's a wise decision. You have to base it with like some of the other factors as well.
Yeah. And I think one thing is basic that we can tell people when they are starting up to invest something जो आप रोज यूज करते हो वो सारी चीजों का ध्यान दो. वो that things are
Definitely.
a daily used items, so try to see what company it falls under and then invest on those companies. टूथपेस्ट से लेके सारी चीजें जो फंडामेंटली हैज बीन ऑन सिंस अ लॉन्ग टाइम. सो जो चीजें आप घर में यूज करो उसका वो मार्केट का पहला स्टडी करो कि वो कंपनी क्या करती है, कब से है, उनका कैसा चले आ रहा है. May not be कि वो 30%, 40% every year they, but they will have a stable growth or something like that.
Absolutely right. Like let's do one exercise. I'll ask you like to name any five big companies in India in any field. You said toothpaste, उसमें कौन सी है?
Yeah.
FMCG, anything.
Hmm.
Just give me five names.
Colgate one,
Yes,
Asian Paints,
yes,
uh, L&T,
yes.
and Jubilant.
Jubilant, yes. There are Jubilant Pharma, there are Jubilant Ingrevia, there are a lot.
Jubilant Food.
Foodworks, oh, Domino's, nice.
Yeah. Yes. And then now I think Vedanta is on the.
Vedanta. See, you are able to see, क्या चल रहा है मार्केट में, एंड आई ट्रस्ट यू. अगर आपको क्या लगता है इन पांच में से कोई कंपनी रिटर्न नहीं देगा,
Hmm.
इट विल डेफिनेटली गिव रिटर्न, राइट?
Yeah.
पीपल, एक मार्केट में लोगों का परसेप्शन है, लेट्स फाइंड दैट कंपनी जो किसी को ना पता हो, ओनली आई नो एंड आई इन्वेस्ट. ऐसा
Yeah.
मार्केट में नहीं चलता, राइट? इफ यू सी शार्क्स, बड़े बड़े जो इन्वेस्टर, उनके पोर्टफोलियो देखो, यू फाइंड दीज कंपनीज, एंड आई बेट यू गो टू एनी म्यूचुअल फंड, उनका आप
Yeah.
देखोगे तो you'll find these companies sitting there, right?
Right.
So, and they still earn money.
Yes.
If you want to earn market returns, just think market में क्या चल रहा है, you'll be able to earn decent return, I would say, right?
Yes.
अगर आपको आउट परफॉर्म करना है, then obviously you need to dig deeper कि ठीक है, I need to find some undervalued stocks, I need to think कि future में क्या होगा, right? Then it
Hmm.
requires some skill. Otherwise, I think you have picked stocks better than any portfolio manager in the market. I
Yeah.
think.
True. That's it.
Yeah.
So, one thing is we were talking about how people can just invest, right? So, long-term investment, is it a myth? और लॉन्ग टर्म इन्वेस्टमेंट लोग बोलते हैं कि खरीद लो और भूल जाओ, तो कब खरीदना चाहिए एंड खरीद के कितनी बार हमको वो पोर्टफोलियो देखना चाहिए विदाउट ओवर डूइंग इट एंड विदाउट इवन एक्चुअली फॉरगेटिंग अबाउट इट एट ऑल, तो मतलब कर दिया इन्वेस्ट, बीच में देखे ही नहीं, तो ये कब देखना चाहिए कब नहीं देखना चाहिए? हाँ, व्हाट डू यू थिंक ऑन दैट?
I hear that a lot. People call me and say कि अरे कोई ऐसा स्टॉक बता दे जो 15-20 साल बस लेके छोड़ दें. We don't have to see that. And trust me, I say signal answer, though gone were the days. आज की डेट में, like, just think of last 1 year. We have seen tariffs, we have seen wars, we have seen reversals. I'm not sure, like, हमने एक साल में कितने volatility देख ली. Do you
ट्रू,
think there are chances कि ठीक है आंख बंद करके छोड़ दो?
पॉसिबल ही
I
नहीं है।
think it's a thing of past. And again,
या।
past में भी नहीं था. It's because there's what we call technically survivorship bias, right? We are seeing history from current levels. It looks very simplified. If you would have invested in, say, Wipro, if you would have invested in Infosys at that time, think of, if you would have invested in Satyam at that time, like, again. So we are only taking examples जो survive कर गए, right? We are not sure आज से 15 साल बाद क्या survive करेगा क्या नहीं करेगा. In fact, as per current scenarios, if you see, Indian IT is facing like the disruption like anything. I think
राइट।
it's the biggest disruption they are facing. And to blame them, I personally think Indian IT has never been at the level of just say US की tech companies हैं. You can't compare Indian IT with like FANG companies like Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, like or Meta, right? These kind of things. You can't compare it to them because Indian IT has still been about आउटसोर्सिंग थिंग्स के उनको रिसोर्सेज दे दिया, उनका वो डिप्लॉयमेंट वाला काम कर दिया. You don't see any Indian company breaking through into AI, right? Like as that US companies or some of Chinese companies did, right? So they are facing disruption like anything into as of now. If somebody would have continued कि ठीक है Infosys have been the past star, I would continue investing in next 15 years. Nobody guarantee, right? कि 15 साल में
या।
क्या होगा. And in these times इतना डायनामिक्स चेंज हो रहे हैं डेली. वन डे देयर इज वॉर अनाउंस्ड, वन डे देयर इज समथिंग एल्स, राइट? You have to have like a keen eye on where you are putting your money. Gone are the days जब आप like invest and forget वाला. In fact, I remember when I started investing, they used to call HDFC as 20% का FD. That was very prominent in market. HDFC Bank is like 20% का FD. You put in HDFC Bank, you will generate 20% year like return every year, and it has been happening like from like 1 decade or so. But
या।
see HDFC's performance in last 5 years.
Yeah, from
You'll find
2020, from 2020, since ever
exact.
since they had the stock split.
It's trading at the same level, right? So
Yeah.
things change. So again, to your first question, like long term buying and forgetting is gone. Even if you are investing for long term, again I say, there's difference between uh, investing for long term and just leaving it, or like kuch nahi karne ka, right? So sitting with a strategy and sitting for a deterioration are two different things, right? You can't
Yeah.
simply keep for long term seeing your value deteriorating. That's not going to happen, right? So you have to have analyze those stocks. To your second point, like stemming from this only, कि review कितना करना चाहिए. So it has become very critical nowadays. Again, you can't put money and rest. That's not going to happen. Even if you are investing in mutual funds, you have to keep tracking कैसा चल रहा है market में, क्या चीजें हो रही हैं. To your review point, I think at the minimum quarterly you have to review your portfolio, because companies report results every quarter. हर क्वार्टर के बाद सिनेरियो चेंज हो जाता है. देयर चेंज इन स्ट्रेटजी. यू सी क्या इम्पैक्ट आ रहा है उसमें. देयर आर सम रिस्क फैक्टर्स. And again, this is at minimum. But if there are some event, for
Hmm.
example, Trump put tariff, there's a war in Middle East, that changes all the traditional models. In fact, I was just listening to some of portfolio managers in US. So they have started adding Trump risk into the risk factors. So there
Okay.
used to be business risk, financial risk, market risk, and now what they call is Trump risk. They say, okay, we always have to factor in that Trump risk into our models, no matter Trump कब आके क्या announce करते. So that is a risk you can't ignore. So you have to review at least at minimum quarterly. But if there are certain events, or there are, you will follow some different strategy. So it could be more frequent than quarter, but at the minimum, you need to revisit
Yeah.
it every quarter.
And I have seen the opposite people as well, right? So there are people जो हर रोज अपना पोर्टफोलियो देखते हैं and they're like अरे 3 रुपए स्टॉक नीचे आ गया. I'm like तेरे को वैसे भी नहीं करना है ना अभी sell. You have to
See,
sell it after years. So wait three
exact.
rupees.
See, there is difference. Checking portfolio is not reviewing. That is just
Yeah.
viewing.
So,
Let's be
and the
very
fact
clear
that
about it.
comes along that you're checking it daily, 3 rupees has gone down. I could have bought it for 3 rupees less. I'm like, it's okay, you can hold. So,
See, जब जिस सिनेरियो में हम जा रहे हैं, I think people don't have patience, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's like a common factor, not particular to any age group or something. We are getting out of patience. So people keep checking, right? You can't stop that. But people need to understand that is not reviewing. That is just viewing. You're
yeah,
just आप anxious हो रहे हो उसको देख देख के. There's a meme going on. You don't check you check your portfolio. You're anxious, then you check your portfolio, and you check your portfolio because you are anxious, right?
yeah.
I think I said it wrong, but there's something
I
going on very.
understood the meaning of it. No.
I was not able to speak it particularly, but yeah, there are meme
Yeah,
going on. So again, checking portfolio every 5 minutes, you can do it, but it's not reviewing. Reviewing is thoroughly checking whether the fair value of the stocks that you target has changed, whether it's worth keeping those stocks into your portfolio now. If it answers that, then that is reviewing. Otherwise, it's just checking, right?
yeah,
So you can't, you can do that, but that doesn't matter to anyone as of now.
true.
Yeah.
और ये अभी सोशल मीडिया में इतना सारा एवरीवन उठ के दे आर बिकमिंग अ फंड गुरु इन्वेस्टर गुरु एंड इतने सारे जो आ रहे हैं रील्स एंड यहाँ पे कर लो इन्वेस्ट ये कर लो सो
Mhm.
देयर आर सो मच नॉइज दैट इज गोइंग ऑन सो हाउ डू यू फिल्टर आउट द जेन्युइन वंस एंड इग्नोर द रेस्ट
So I first of all, I'm also tired of watching such videos, and I was expecting that question would come up. So there's influx of videos, right? Everybody's trying to give some gyan on finance, ke ye hai wo hai. But I think you need to filter out. There's difference between entertainment content and finance content. There has to be some difference, and in fact, SEBI is trying to crack down on those. Like no one should treat finance content as entertainment content, because people actually have tendency to take advice from that, and they do base their decision on that, right? So first of all, do check for the credibility of the person who is speaking, right? Think of, check their qualification, check for SEBI registrations, check for whether the person is actually kind of credible to provide that information or not. Second, when it comes to only when we think about content, is हमने छोटे होते वो सिंपल इंटरेस्ट का एक फॉर्मूला पढ़ा था. वी कॉल इट पीआरटी, प्रिंसिपल इनटू रिटर्न इनटू टाइम, राइट? So the amount you invest, the rate of return you are generating, and how, like, for how long you are investing time. So I personally believe that is my filter. कि अगर you see any video, if it is touching any of these areas, benefiting you, कितना amount invest करना है, somebody is suggesting you कि आप कैसे you can save more and invest more. Somebody is suggesting how to generate more, where to invest to generate better returns. Or somebody is suggesting कि कितना time लंबा invest रख सकते हो. Then that helps you. Otherwise, इसके अलावा सब बेकार है. They are just there to just make you feel good, right? And I think finance content is same like entertainment content, ke just to make you feel good. They'll again pick some random calculations like if you start investing, putting that money into SIP, 15 साल बाद वो इतना हो जाएगा, you'll be into 10 crores, 20 crores. That doesn't matter, right? Those are just calculations done to make you feel good about that. There's no like real life incidents or practicality attached to that. So I think one shouldn't watch that. The clear filter should be first credibility, then second you should think if they are touching any of the PRT things, that's worth watching. Otherwise, just leave that. And I think 90% of the content, at least I see on my reels, falls into the second category, which is of no use.
Yeah. So I actually had a podcast with another gentleman who is there in the industry for 30 years. He's not an advisor or anything, but he is there in the financial industry for 30 years. He has seen the market very closely and he trades and invests himself. So one of the things that he had mentioned was I would see the stocks जहाँ पे कंपनी को अवार्ड बार बार मिला है तो वो कंपनी को मैं ज्यादा रिव्यू करता हूँ बिफोर इन्वेस्टिंग.
Definitely, definitely. I think things have changed. Companies are also following the influencer marketing thing. I've seen a lot of people do that. Against, SEBI clearly, restricts that you can't do that. But I've seen people kind of promoting some particular stocks because of their personal gains. First of all, that is not legally allowed. Second, one shouldn't do that. Yeah, you need to see again. It comes to motive, right? Like intent. You need to see what is the intent of person publishing that. Like, is the person doing it just to make you aware, right? Or getting a view? I think that's not a bad thing. But if the person is trying to generate some money out of it into
Yeah.
some means, right? Then you should definitely get out of that, because they will probably pump you into some particular stock, and then you will have no way to get out of that, right? We have seen
So,
that pump and dump schemes a lot
yeah.
in India.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think this was very insightful, and people who are watching the podcast today will have a lot of takeaways from for themselves, and they'll start investing in a good way. That is a good habit of investing, and they'll not fall into any other trap. So thank you, Akashdeep, for your time and for all the things that you've said. It will be helpful for the viewers today.
Thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed it thoroughly as well. Just one request to like everyone: just invest with trust, invest with conviction. That's all.